Hello everyone, welcome to my GMB News channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Keir Starmer will this week set out plans to cut some Quangos to reduce red tape and a bloated state, helping with economic growth. Politicians have embarked on similar programs before. This is what Quangos are and what they do. What is a Quango? A Quango is a quasi-autonomous non-governmental organization, although the government calls them arm's-length bodies or ALBs. They oversee regulations for the government and operate independently from politicians. What functions do they carry out? Everything from the running of the NHS to issuing driving licenses, maintaining railways and monitoring food standards is carried out by ALBs. They can be executive agencies such as the Drivers and Vehicles Licensing Agency (DVLA) and the Met Office, non-departmental public bodies such as the British Council and the Environment Agency, or non-ministerial departments such as Revenue and Customs and the Food Standards Agency. Why do politicians make new Quangos? New governments like to invent Quangos to bring new effort to their priorities, such as Rachel Reeves's Office for Value for Money. They also create distance from politicians, meaning that if something goes wrong they can blame the relevant Quango, rather than their own department. Why do governments rail against Quangos? Despite allowing Quangos to multiply, politicians also regularly try to cut down the number of ALBs and bring more responsibility into departments. Quangos are often created to remove political accountability, but ministers can then end up feeling powerless and wanting to bring powers back under their own control. How many Quangos are there? There are more than 300 ALBs, although there is some controversy over the definition and many think there are more. Large ALBs include NHS England, HMRC and Network Rail. They collectively employ more than 390,000 staff and account for about £350 billion of spending. What happened in the last bonfire of the Quangos? David Cameron was on a mission to rip up the Quangocracy after he was elected in 2010, getting rid of about 285 out of about 1,000. However, an audit later found it did not save as much as the £2.6 billion planned, with transition costs doubling to about £830 million. About 184 new organizations were created at the same time. One of the biggest ones established by the coalition was the Office for Budget Responsibility, which provides independent economic analysis and forecasts. Has the number permanently shrunk? The former cabinet minister Jacob Rees-Mogg attempted another bonfire of Quangos in 2022. He said the number of ALBs identified in the cabinet office fell from 463 to 295 between 2016 and 2019. Who takes on the work of Quangos when they are axed? After the last cull of Quangos, about 16% were absorbed by central government, 17% taken over by other committees, 4% by charities, 2% by local government and 2% by the private sector. In the Grand Halls of Westminster, Sir Keir Starmer stood before a sea of politicians, journalists and policy experts. This was the moment he had prepared for, a defining speech on the future of Britain's governance. The Labour leader, set to become the next Prime Minister, was about to unveil his ambitious plan to cut down on Quangos, reduce bureaucracy, and steer the nation towards a leaner, more efficient state. Quangos, quasi-autonomous non-governmental organizations, had long been a point of contention. They were originally designed to bring expertise and independence to the governing process, managing everything from food safety to railway infrastructure. However, over the years they had multiplied, growing into a vast web of bureaucracy that many critics, including Starmer himself, now deemed excessive. Today, we take a crucial step towards streamlining government operations, Starmer declared. We will eliminate unnecessary Quangos, reduce red tape and return power to where it belongs, with elected officials who are accountable to the people. The room murmured with mixed reactions. Some nodded in agreement, recalling previous attempts to trim the so-called Quangocracy, while others remained skeptical, aware of the political and logistical challenges that lay ahead. A history of bonfires. Starmer's proposal was not without precedent. David Cameron, during his tenure, had launched his own bonfire of the Quangos, vowing to cut waste and improve government efficiency. His administration successfully removed around 285 Quangos, but the results were mixed. While some savings were achieved, the transition costs were higher than expected, and new organizations arose to fill the vacuum left behind. More recently, rees-mogg had attempted another purge in 2022, reducing the number of Quangos from 463 to 295. However, critics argued that for every Quango cut, a new one seemed to appear in a different guise, keeping the bureaucratic machine running in a different form. The challenges ahead. Despite the repeated efforts, Quangos persisted because they served necessary functions. The Environment Agency monitored pollution, the Food Standards Agency ensured the safety of the nation's food, and NHS England oversaw vital health services. The challenge Starmer faced was determining which Quangos were truly unnecessary and which were integral to the smooth functioning of the nation. Starmer's plan aimed to cut down on duplication, remove Quangos that merely added another layer of oversight without adding value, and fold essential functions back into central government. But doing so would require careful planning. Past experience had shown that hastily axing organizations could lead to increased costs in the short term, as responsibilities shifted and new administrative structures were required. A new approach. Unlike his predecessors, Starmer sought a phased approach. Instead of immediately dismantling Quangos en masse, his administration would conduct a comprehensive review, assessing the effectiveness and necessity of each body. The ones deemed redundant or inefficient would be eliminated, while those providing critical services would be reformed to operate with greater transparency and efficiency. A new Office of Public Efficiency would be established, a Quango to oversee the reduction of Quangos. This irony was not lost on political commentators, but Starmer defended it, arguing that having an independent body dedicated to streamlining governance would ensure the process was thorough and unbiased. To soften the impact, Starmer's plan included a transition fund to help employees affected by Quango closures find new roles within government or the private sector. This was in stark contrast to Cameron's approach, where thousands of employees were made redundant without clear pathways forward. Political reactions. As expected, the announcement triggered a wave of responses. Conservative MPs, long advocating for a reduction in bureaucracy, cautiously welcomed the plan but remained skeptical about Labour's ability to follow through. Labour loves creating bureaucracy. What guarantees do we have that this won't just be a temporary measure before new Quangos are established in a few years? One MP challenged. On the other hand, public sector unions expressed concern about job losses and the potential impact on essential services. Quangos play a crucial role in governance. If they're dismantled without a clear plan, we risk disruptions to everything from transportation to public health, warned a spokesperson from a major civil service union. The road ahead. As the weeks progressed, Starmer and his team worked tirelessly to refine the plan. Committees were formed, assessments began, and departments braced for change. While some viewed this initiative as a necessary step towards a more efficient government, others feared it would be yet another failed attempt to control Britain's sprawling bureaucracy. Would this be the bonfire that finally reduced the number of Quangos permanently, or would history repeat itself? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. Keir Starmer had set the stage for one of the most significant governmental overhauls in decades. So what do you guys think about this update? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my videos, please press like and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys next time.